Drawing Lesson 1, Step 3 of the Split Face Self-Portrait. In Step 3, you are going to be combining the first two steps. You are going to be sketching a self-portrait lightly on one half, and on the other half, you are filling in your portrait as a visual self-portrait. You will begin creating your artwork using an 8.5 by 11 clean sheet of white drawing paper. You are going to sketch lightly because remember, we're going to be erasing half of the details of your self-portrait. Only one half we will keep as the accurate portrait. So you're going to start by sketching your accurate self-portrait. So you're going to need a mirror, you're going to need a pencil, an eraser, and then make sure you have that facial proportions handout. So again, you're starting by drawing that really light circle, adding a U shape, connecting it to the bottom of the circle for your chin, and then you're splitting that in half. You're drawing a horizontal line halfway through the center of that shape and a vertical line. On that halfway line is where you will begin to draw your eyes, because remember, your eyes are located in the center of your head. One thing that I forgot to mention in the Step 1 video is the top of your head, or the top of that circle, is actually the top of your head. Sometimes students think that that's the top of their forehead, but that's actually the top of your head, of your hairline. So your forehead is actually lower than that. Okay, anyway, so back to sketching. So remember, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're looking at your drawing, looking at yourself in the mirror. It's a constant back and forth because we want to draw what we actually see in the mirror, not what we think we look like. I cannot reiterate enough. You are drawing this really lightly, especially on one half. You're going to choose which half, it's up to you, of your face you're going to later erase. So super duper lightly where you can just barely see your pencil line. Go ahead and pre-decide which side you're keeping, and then you can go ahead and do that side. Once you're happy with some of those details and you feel like it's pretty accurate, you can press a little more firmly. And you can see that on the right side is the side I'm going to be keeping. So those lines are a little bit darker. The left side of my portrait I'm going to erase later. So I'm doing it really lightly. Other measurements that are important to remember. Remember your nose, the bottom of your nose lines up with the bottom of your ear. The top of your ear lines up with the top of your eye. The center of your eyeball, and once you bring that line down, that lines up with the corner or the edges of your mouth. Also notice that I am using my finger to do some blending and some shading. There's not like a distinct outline of your nose, so be careful there. There's sort of a nice crisp line on the edge of your nose, sort of around your nostril, but then the rest of your nose is very subtle, and it's easier, instead of just drawing a line, a hard line, it won't look very realistic. Consider doing some shading with your finger just to create sort of a shadow where your nose goes up. Also that shadow around your eye. If you want your self-portrait to look a little bit more realistic, consider using your fingers to sort of blend and create some value. You'll notice at this point, I've really just started focusing on the one half of my split face self-portrait that's going to be the accurate drawing. I didn't really feel the need to draw my lips and my nose in on the other side. So don't feel like, once you sort of feel like you have the accurate shape and your eyes are spaced apart, then you're really just focusing on one half. The other half is where we are in just a little bit going to start to incorporate that visual imagery that reflects you. Once you're happy with your drawing of your accurate self-portrait, you're going to want to pull out your practice sketches of your imagery and the list that you created, and you're going to want to start lightly. As you approach this visual imagery portion, you are going to sketch lightly because you're going to want to make corrections and adjust things. Start planning out how you want to lay out that imagery. You'll want to review the Google slide for lesson 1 talking about composition. This is the point where we're really wanting to create an interesting composition with our visual imagery. We don't want everything to be the same size, not touching, just kind of floating around on that other half of your self-portrait. We want varying sizes of imagery. We want varying angles. We want some things to overlap and touch. So we're really trying to consider an interesting composition, not something that's just everything's the same and my eye is not carried throughout the composition. You have some options. You can be really creative here. You'll see in some of those student examples. Some students did hair on both sides and just incorporated the imagery on the actual face. Some turned their hair, one student turned her hair into Twizzlers because that was her favorite candy. You can be really creative with this. In this example that I'm creating, I've chosen to incorporate a wave. Since I love going to the beach, it's one of my favorite places to vacation, and the wave is sort of going to be what sort of acts as my hair on the other side, just to sort of balance it out. But you really can take this and approach it in many different ways. Ultimately, your goal, though, is to create an interesting composition where things overlap, are varying sizes, are moving in different directions, and they're not just all small and floating and not touching. Also remember, this is your opportunity to really express your personality through imagery. So you're wanting to incorporate as many things as you possibly can from your list. I don't want to see just like 2 big images on, the visual imagery side. I want to see it full of varying things that reflect you. Again, you have a lot of freedom of creativity here. You can see that I actually left the shape of my eye in on the visual imagery side, but I turned the pupil of the eye into a volleyball because volleyball is one of my favorite sports. So I altered it a little bit. So you can take out all of the actual features if you want to take out the eye and the nose and the lips, or if you want to incorporate a portion of them and transform them, you can. So you have really a lot of freedom. And like I said, if you want to leave your hair in accurately, you can, or you can take that out. It's really up to you. But I want to see you squeezing in as much visual imagery as you possibly can throughout that visual imagery side. The last part of step 3, once you have completed adding all of your imagery with pencil, you are going to take Sharpie. I find that the fine point Sharpie works best, and you're going to just outline all of the visual imagery on the one half of your face. The accurate portion side, we're leaving that alone for now. You're going to either leave that in pencil or you can color it in with colored pencil later, but you're not outlining anything with Sharpie on the accurate self-portrait side. You're only outlining with black Sharpie the different images that reflect your personality. This is the last step to step 3, is just outlining with Sharpie. In the next video, the last video, step 4, is we're going to be talking about color, how we're going to approach adding color, your options for color. So that will be the discussion in video 4.